This young lady right here that I'm going to share with you in a minute, her business is online. I might not be able to share the entire video with you because in my estimation, it's a little bit on the long side, but that's why I have it here in the toolkit so you can go through it. And I'm encouraging you to look for her by following her link, subscribe to her channel, and she's got a plethora of information. She made 6 figures with a computer that has a camera. She's doing her vlogging on business topics. If she can do it from wherever part in the world she is, why can't you? Why can't you take a similar planned and organized approach with whatever business that you are in? It doesn't have to be that you're vlogging, but why can you not set a target to do 6 figures? Let me ask you to type in the chat. Have you ever done 6 figures for your business? Just tell me yes or no. Yes, no, no. Anybody else? Someone said this year, great. Most people are saying no. Now, my next question is, would you like to make 6 figures? Yes. Okay, great. That's only one person, of course. Yes, definitely. Now, are you saying 6 figures because of the fact that I said 6 figures that you're saying yes? Or are you limit? Aha, somebody got the idea. They want to make 7. And it's doable. You don't have to live in a metropolitan country. Let's face it, a lot of people who are within those metropolitan countries, they come here and reside here within the Caribbean and even within Barbados, and they make that kind of money. And their businesses are true businesses where it doesn't matter whether or not they turn up for work at the office, their businesses are still making money. Which brings me to one of the other things that I need to ask. Do you have a bona fide business or do you own a job? Owning a job is that your business needs you every single day in order to earn revenue. Having a business means that it's not required for your presence to be there in order for you to earn revenue. So do you have a business or do you own a job? For many of you who are now starting your business, would you be able to share with me what area your business is operating within and what you find is your most difficult area of coping within your business today? Is it access to financing? Is it access to other resources? Is it recruitment? Hold a job, hoping to start a business soon. Great. Yeah, you don't wait till you're thirsty to dig a second well. So that's very, very good. Okay, so if you don't have a difficulty, what is stopping you from achieving or realizing your goals? Was it a case that you did not set your goals? They're not clearly defined? Do you need more time? What is it? Administration trying to do everything that can hold you back. Find somebody to outsource to. A lot of people need to learn how to outsource. How many of you recognize that when you're coming from a job to go into a business, it's a steep learning curve? Because when you're in your job, you have other people around you to do various things. But then when you're coming out to do your business, then you recognize that until you start outsourcing, until you learn where you need to go, you have to be the chief cook and bottle washer doing every single thing. And sometimes you don't know what you are supposed to do, so it can be overwhelming. You don't know if you're doing it well. You don't know that you did not know that you might have even needed to do it. And unless you came into a forum like this, you might not have known that other people are experiencing the same very difficulties that you are. Let me share something with you. You heard I'm a business development specialist, right? But when I came from out of the hotel sector and I worked in every single area of the hotel, from gardens all the way right through to duty manager in charge of the properties and all that sort of stuff, I still found it had a steep learning curve. But what I did is quickly recognize that I needed a team. So my thing about it is that I would rather make 1% of a million than 100% of 1,000. 1% of a million is 100,000, but 100% of 1,000 is still 1,000. So how many of you recognize that it's probably better to work in teams? How many of you recognize the importance of networking? We've got things like LinkedIn and all that sort of thing there. And all we do is connect with people, but we don't ever start a conversation with them, find out what they can do and where the synergies exist that they can help our business and we can help theirs. Sometimes we want to keep our businesses top secret. Yes, Keith Ann, I'm going to come to that just now. You've been peeking. The regulatory and statutory areas, yes, that can be difficult. But you know what? You can find somebody who will deal with those areas for you, though. All you need is a good bookkeeper. You don't need an accountant. A bookkeeper will do all that there for you, a good one. And sometimes we feel that we need an accountant because the title sounds big and, I have this stuff, I'll take it over to my accountant. But all you need is a bookkeeper to keep the records and everything like that. And then if you realize that at the end of the year, you hit like over 2 million, well, then, yeah, you need an accountant. If you need certain documentation, sometimes that you're doing a business plan and you need an audit review, yes, you need an accountant. But more often than not, you just need a good bookkeeper. You need a good attorney. You guys are starting to do the right things. Some of you are starting to focusing upon what you want. And as you get older, you're going to find that you have to be able to, work smarter as opposed to working harder. No, you're recognizing that you need a bookkeeper, you need somebody in HR, you need somebody in admin, you need somebody in marketing, you need somebody in operations, depending on what type of business that you're in. How many of you have a mentor? Somebody who's gone the path before, who will help you avoid some of the mistakes and pitfalls that are waiting for you. How many of you have a mentor? Wow. Some people have mentors and some people do not. Okay, great. This is awesome. Do you find it easier to work with a mentor or without? For those of you who already have the mentor, do you find it was easier to do what you need to do without the mentor or with the mentor? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh, you go to University of YouTube? Great. Now that you're looking at that, I'm going to step back right here really quickly and share this with you. Yes, some people are secretive, but you know what? There's really no information that is new. And as Keithan said, you go to the University of YouTube, you can pretty much find out just about anything. There's always someone up there who's done it before. I'm going to share this video with you really quickly, and then I'm going to come on back in.
If you're serious about building a real online coaching, consulting, and or course business, there are certain systems and things that you need to have in place in your business so that you have a real business, right? One that has predictable and consistent traffic, sales, revenue, recurring revenue. And it's not something where you have to hustle every day to get your next sale or post on social media to get your next client, right? And so that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about what I like to call the 3 layers of certainty that you need to build into your business to make sure that you have a real business from day one that's going to stand the test of time, that's going to continue consistently making sales into the foreseeable future, and that doesn't rely on you having to show up and hustle 24 hours a day to make sales. So let's talk about what those 3 layers are. The first layer is the income layer. So this is probably a no-brainer, because without revenue in your business, you do not have a business. And so this first layer that you want to be building in consists of a few things. First, it's making sure that you've got the basics covered, that you have a market, right? That you know the audience, the ideal client avatar, common terms, whatever you want to call it, so that you have an audience that wants what you have to sell. It's also making sure that you've got a product, whether that's a coaching offer, a consulting offer, an online program, a course, whatever that looks like, wherever you're starting out. Although, if you've followed me and my content for any amount of time, you know I pretty much, for this type of business, always recommend starting out with an online coaching offer. I mean, the coaching offer itself does not have to be on, you can do it through calls and such, but a coaching offer. And making sure that it's something that people want, and then doing the activities that you need to do to actually get sales. That's what it comes down to. And that's really all you need to be focused on to really create that income layer, where you have a product, it has a market fit that generates income. Now, there's a lot that goes into doing that. I have a ton of videos on my channel for that walk you in depth through all of those different areas. There's not one specific one because it's a lot of things. So if you are interested, you're going to have to check out my YouTube channel and look at the wealth of information that I have there. And so that's the income layer. And in that first layer, all you're focused on is starting to generate income. And I want you to notice, at this point, you're not worried about trying to build any other layers. You're not trying to worry about building a funnel or long-term traffic or a beautiful system. That's going to come down the road, and we're going to talk about that in just a bit. Where you want to start out is making sure that, hey, I've got something that I can make sales of to a market that wants that, and I have made sales so that I've got proof of concept. In the beginning of your business, that's the only thing that you are focused on, so that anything that you need to do, your list of to-dos, what you first ask yourself is, hey, is this something that's going to help me generate that income certainty? The certainty that I know I've got something that can generate revenue in my business. Without that, nothing else matters. If something that you're wanting to do doesn't directly contribute to that, right? For example, spending a few hours making your website a little prettier, or spending a few hours updating your email sequence. If you are new to email marketing and aren't great at copywriting and are just new to your business, that's not a great use of your time. What is a good use of your time is finding potential clients who would be interested in what you have to offer, and then sharing your offer with them and seeing where that leads you. Again, I have way more details in my other videos. So if you're serious about building your business, make sure you check those out. So that's the first layer. And I want you to notice that in each layer, we are only focused on a few things at a time. And this is really key, because the truth is there is a lot to building an online business.
She's talking about the 3 layers of certainty. It's a bit on the long side. So what I'm going to do is to leave you to listen to the rest of it, because I need to cover some more ground and we're still on the first area.
All right, but that was a good video and that was good information. And I just wanted to say this for those of you who are saying you don't have a mentor, but you have people that you go to on YouTube. I just want you to think of it this way, that really you do have a mentor, because whoever you are accessing on YouTube is in fact still your mentor, because you're going to them consistently for guidance and advice. And so if you at least think of it that way, then you know it's not so much that you're out there on your own with no guidance. It's just that your mentor is in a more distant and indirect format. And we often advise as well that sometimes we may have books that we buy, or people that we look at their story, we look at their biographies and what they did in order to grow their business. And that can also be considered mentorship, because we're really learning from someone else who's followed a similar path.
I'm going to go back and start sharing now. Now, this is following on from the video that was up here. So when you're looking at contemplating what is needed, there's this book here that you can get from down at BIDC, or you can order it on Amazon if you have an account, called Regulatory Hacking. It's by Evan Burfield. He basically tells you all the things that you need to consider, because all too often, as I read that particular book, you realize that you're operating a business in a field that is an environment that surrounds you, and you don't know that environment. You don't know that environment well. You don't know the things that are there that can benefit you within your environment to help you grow your business. And you don't know the hindrances that are just waiting for you to just trip over them to stop you from growing your business. These are all things that are very real and are right there. So let me ask you a question. Do you know the environment within which your entity operates? For example, regulations governing your business, if any. There are entities around the place now, for those of you who are in consulting who want to, CMC, Certified Management Consultants. It's a global body, and what they try to do is to get everyone come under the body of consulting. The thing about it is that I had a difficulty trusting that process, because when I looked at it the very first time around, but the person who introduced it to me, they're no longer around, so I can speak freely. I didn't trust the process, because when I first wanted to do collaborations with that same individual back in the day, they spoke down to me and, oh, they've got this whole range of clients that are very, very big, and their clients have to line up to meet with them and all this sort of thing. And I'm like, what? And I saw that within that same year, their clients were in my sessions. Their clients were meeting with me, because you've got to be so very careful when you're going up the ladder, how you treat the people that you pass on your way up, because you might very well encounter those people again on your way back down. What's happening is that when you're looking at the regulations governing your business, you've got to look at the statutory commitments. Businesses around here, I find, do not use anything called tax planning. When you are an employee, you get paid what is left back after you pay your taxes, because you get this thing called pay as you earn. So your employer will take out your taxes and pay that in, and then you get to spend what is left back, if there's anything left back. When you are in business now, first you get to spend, and then you get to pay taxes on what's left back, if there's any left back. So a lot of people don't recognize that, yes, you do the accounts and all that sort of thing, but if your business needs a printer and the printer costs the same amount as what your taxes worked out to be, by all means, go and buy the printer and write it off against the taxes though. Taxes are not something that you fear. Taxes are something that just let you keep track of what your obligations are And I remember back in the day, a guy came to audit me from one of those same statutory corporations. I got 2 audits in 1 year. Rest assured, I'm going to tell you right now, if you're in business, by the time you come up to your 5-year mark in business, you will get audited by one of the statutory entities. BRA is going to come for you. So make sure that you keep solid records. They're going to come for you. And how they do it is that through the paper trail of different entities, they might audit one of your clients, your name comes up, so then they come and find out exactly what it is that you're doing. So make sure that you keep good records. Make sure that you know what your business is earning and you know what you are earning. There was something when we were talking about the strategies of companies and of entities when you're setting up. If you have a limited partnership, for example, and let's compare that with a corporation or a limited liability company. With a limited liability company, you're taxed twice. You're taxed at the corporate level, and then when you get paid, you are taxed at the personal level. When you have a limited partnership, you're taxed once at the personal level. So it goes on your personal income tax form. But of course, since you're running the business, you might get some exemptions or some incentives, especially if you do things like bring in foreign exchange. So that's why it's good to live here, but not necessarily work here. I got audited. And at that time, VAT was up like not too long ago. They had this thing, this big deal about what was a receipt and what was a tax invoice. And at that time, I paid everything by check. And what the people did was give me the things, and I saw the tax number on it and all that sort of thing. So I stapled everything nicely and put them up. And the guy told me at the time that what I have is receipts and not tax invoices. So therefore, he's going to disallow my documentation, which means that I would then have to pay taxes again on what I paid taxes on before. And this is why you must know your regulations. So then at that point in time, I said, you know what? You don't have anything over money that came foreign exchange, money that's earned from outside the island, do you? He said, no. So then I took the pen and I went, well, therefore I disallow. And I came right down the list and I crossed off all the things where I made money overseas. So when he thought that he hit the mother load, he realized then that, you know what came down from 5 figures came all the way down to very low 4 figures. What they would do when they come to audit you is put a rookie on you who's trying to prove their stripes and prove their worth. So they're going to try to dig up every single thing. So what needs to happen is that you got to keep your records. You got to be aware of when the transactions took place and make sure that you have supporting documentation and supporting notes of what the transaction governed. For example, don't just go and eat out. If it's a meeting, do you have the minutes for the meeting? Make sure that you have that sort of information there to support that it was a meeting and that it was not just that you're out having a meal and try to write off against the business. When you go to the gas station, you can claim back your gas. Through the Income Tax Act, there's a percentage that you claim back as a result of using your car, even if it's your personal car, you can claim a percentage of that for your business. The same thing if you're working from at home. There's a percentage that you can claim back for working at home against your utilities, and you can allocate a small rental based upon the square footage that you occupy and everything like that. So then you also have incentives and exemptions. Now, what's an incentive? An incentive could come in 3 different forms. It could be economic incentive, it could be a social incentive, or a moral incentive. So far, I'm still waiting for the incentives that make you feel bad if you don't pay your taxes. They keep coming with this thing about if you don't pay your taxes on time, they're going to penalize you. Why not create an incentive to make you feel that you're exhibiting your patriotism if you pay your taxes? Maybe they will get more people to come out the woodwork and pay their taxes. Then you have the exemptions. And the exemptions are what you get in terms of liabilities imposed being waived and any other obligations that you might have. Coming on down, we look at what is your local and international appeal. If I say that something is a teaspoon here in Barbados, and somebody tells you that something is a teaspoon in New York or the UK, what amount do you expect? You can type it in the chat really quick. You would expect a teaspoon. Yet still, we've all had the experience for those of us who might have gone abroad. If you look at a large here, like say you go to Chefette, you want a large drink. And then you go overseas and you say you want a large drink in one of those fast food outlets out there. What you get as a large drink here is a small over there because the standards are different. So the thing about it is that standards give you marketability. So what are you going to do in terms of standards to help you get that marketability? What are you going to do in terms of ensuring that your business is, you were saying earlier about the level of secrecy in business, but you want to ensure that people know your rates so that then if you go from one entity to the other, the rates are uniform in terms of the quotations that are being given. Then you can sell on value and not necessarily try to compete on price. If you try to compete on price at all, you just become the commodity.
Richard, we had a
Yeah.
question a little while ago. This was when you were talking about the incentive and exemption. Someone's asking,
No,
do you need to be incorporated to do those things?
no, you don't need to be incorporated. You can, that's available for business. Once you're in business, you do those things. You just need to know the regulations and know what you can and cannot do and make it work for you. Like, take for example, for those of you starting up the business now, how many of you know of the trust loans? If you know of the trust loans, type yes, really quick. Okay, so nobody knows of them, which means that you also did not know that they give you like around $5,000 and then really special rates of repayment. How many of you listen to opportunity calls, which usually has a lot of opportunities for you, especially if you're in a consulting arena, to be able to provide work? And also, how many of you subscribe to areas that put out projects? There's a website that sends me projects on a monthly basis about projects around the globe. And you can subscribe there and you can get all this information about projects that's coming out to you. For those of you who are in consulting, have you decided whether you're going to be doing the type of consulting that puts together proposals to go after projects? Or are you going to be in the type of consulting where you do a level of work that the projects come and hunt you? What is it going to be? I remember back when I first started, a West Coast hotel called me and said, you know what, we want you to come and do some training, Richie. I said, like, fine. And then the conversation was going lovely until they said to me, you know, our standard is that we pay in 90 days. I said, well, our standard is a little bit more like Chefette. They said, what do you mean? I said, you can look at the menu all you want, but unless you pay first, you ain't getting nothing off of there. And we quickly then understood where each other was coming from. And they were reluctant to go that route of paying first. And I just said, you know what? Not all business is good business. And I let them go because I am not going to pay for work and then turn around and beg for the money too. And that's why I find that too many entrepreneurs and too many small businesses do. You give away your work and then people pay you, they don't respect you, and then you can't meet your own commitments. Let's come on down. What are your standards? When you tell somebody that you're going to do a project within a particular time, do you deliver on or before that time? When you tell somebody that you're going to do a project at a particular cost, do you deliver within that fee structure? Remember, when you charge for a project, the person might be seeing you, but not all the money is yours to keep. You are the person who's out front representing the entity, but you should charge in such a way that you have enough money. If you watch Despicable Me, you got enough money to pay your minions so that you can take on more than one project at a time and avoid the feast and famine type of cycle. So how many of you can take on more than one project at a time, more than one assignment at a time? How many of you are able to access training for your team members? For example, your accountants, your bookkeepers, your attorneys, your administrators, your logistics people, your research and marketing people. How many of you are able to access training for your team members in those areas so that you have an informed team, a team that is competent, that can do the level of work that is required? What about access to capital? Do you have family that you can turn to if you have a tight pot, that you can get some funds without necessarily having to go to a bank? Just like you need some money for 30 days to help you get a project because you're going to have the money back within a short space of time of 3 weeks to 5 weeks, that you can repay that loan and still have a profit. How many of you can have loans, whether it be the bank or credit union or someplace like Kerry Lend? How many of you are incorporated that then you can go after shareholders privately because you know you put together a prospectus that you can go and say, okay, great, this is what I want to do within the business. This is what it's going to cost to get involved. This is a share certificate that's available. And you have a registry of shares so that you can either get your business going without diluting the ownership of the business, or you can just offer a financial instrument for shares, which can be preferred shares, which has all the dividends and everything worked out already. How many of you have access to resources that you can use to expand your businesses? For example, land, labor, the equipment that is needed, and even building space. How many of you have access to those things? How many of you plan to get access to those things that you can do what is necessary to grow your business or even house your business? The business has to come to a stage you might want to move it from out of your room in your home and you want to move it into a bigger space, especially for those who are doing manufacturing. How many of you are making plans to enhance and increase your capacity? Are you competing with people within the marketplace, or are you creating alliances with complementary entities who can help your business grow? Are you want to swim in a red ocean of competition with all the other people out there who are going after the same market? Or are you going to distinguish yourself that you go in and deal with a market that everyone else is ignoring and it's lucrative, so that by the time others figure out what you have done, they can't easily adapt and copy it? Any questions before we move on?
We had just one comment. Someone was pointing out that a lot of those things you mentioned are expensive for a startup. They intend to do it as they get incorporated down the line, but for right now, they were considering it a little too expensive.
They don't know where to look to find the money to get it done. That's why.
Okay. Where are some suggestions for where they could look?
I got that further down within the presentation.
All right.